Hello and welcome, or welcome back to the Sales Enablement Festival. I hope you're enjoying the event so far because we've got even more great content heading your way. Remember to have your questions at the ready and get the tailored answers you need from the experts themselves. Thank you again to our sponsors and partners for helping us bring this event to life. Don't forget, if you're enjoying the content from the festival, be sure to check out the SEC membership plans. You can find more information about this over on the Sales Enablement Collective website. Sit back and enjoy the next talk. Hello everyone and welcome back to this next talk, which is hosted by James Shippen, who is the Global Head of Sales Enablement over at Domino UK, and he's going to talk to you all about new normal or just normal now. So I'd like to welcome James to the virtual stage.
Hi Jack.
All right, over to you.
Great stuff, thank you very much, appreciate it. Well, first of all, I'm really pleased and delighted to be invited to share some of my thoughts and talk to you guys. I think that we're probably all here because sales enablement is really important to us. It's certainly become a passion of mine in the probably the last sort of 3, 4, 5 years. And as I say, really delighted to be invited to speak. In the early part where Jack and the team contacted me and said, "What do you think?" and I wasn't quite sure about coming in and speaking, perhaps, but you know, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, why not? We're all on a journey. Sales enablement is a new discipline, and I'm sure that, you know, we've all got stories to tell, or it's sometimes nice to hear that actually your story is mirrored elsewhere. So I'm going to take you a little bit through some of the thinking that I've got around where we've landed and what's normal now, or perhaps is it going to be new normal, or as I've just said, just normal now. So I'm going to kick off with a little bit of introduction about me. So providing everything is going to work as planned, and it looks as if it will, that's excellent. So I thought a little bit about me, a little bit about Domino. We're a British manufacturing company. We make industrial printers and printing systems. We've been around since 1978, and we were on the FTSE 250. In 2015, we were acquired by Brother Industries. We were out looking for investment, and we fitted in really nicely with the guys at Brother Industries in terms of they're looking to diversify, or they were looking to diversify from their more traditional kind of office and small office, home office equipment, and looking to go more into industrials. So we make coding and marking for traceability, compliance, and security. Well, that sounds probably about as interesting as it is, but the reality is, the next point, if you eat it, take it, use it, consume it, receive it, then the chances are we printed on it or we printed somewhere. So if you're picking up a can of well-known soft drinks, whatever color that might be, there's probably some kind of mark on the bottom that tells you it's good to drink or it's safe to drink. If you're picking up certain beers, they're going to tell you they're born on date or they're used by date. If you're going to pick up something from the pharmacy, there's got a whole bunch of printing on the bottom of the box and 2D codes and all sorts of clever stuff. Again, that's all the things that we print on. So that's the part that we play. We've also got a division that deals in digital printing and prints labels and prints sort of very fast, agile delivery of short runs or even large runs of labels and so on. So as I say, if you eat it, take it, consume it in some way, there's probably a piece on it that, you know, an industry like ours, we've printed somewhere on there. We've got a global team of about 450, 460 sales heads across 13 subsidiaries, ranging across from North America through to China and quite a few points in between. Quite a small sales enablement team. I've actually got a full team of, I think it's 12, but 4 which are really directly within sales enablement. But as I say, I also look after all forms of product training, whether that's technical or commercial. So that's a bit about Domino and what we do. Actually, the pandemic has been really interesting because a very large chunk of our business probably goes into food, beverage, and healthcare. So everybody continued to eat, everybody's continued to drink, and of course the healthcare industry at the moment is in overdrive. So I won't say that business has been booming, but business has been good. Business has still been hard and well fought and competed over, but business has been good. And I think in many ways, be thankful to be in an industry that hasn't been so badly affected. A little about me, moving on. I'm a medical technician by background, coming out of medical physics and then biomedical engineering. I did all of my qualifications in mechanical electronics back in the day. He says that because it's probably horribly out of date now, certainly the electronics part. And as I was sort of moving through a very much more a service tech and engineering kind of role, as I say, I found the light in about 1990 with my first proper sales role in laboratory equipment. So I was in a comfortable place with my medical background. But I joined Domino in 97 as an area account manager, and then I shifted to group in 2004, and I've had numerous roles around commercial training, product management, product marketing, and then formed small sales operation function, and then we've morphed that into sales enablement in about the last 3 years. So it's been quite a journey, and it's been great fun. And as much as a lot of people said, what do you think about losing the sales role? Well, actually watching salespeople now, enabling salespeople, helping them with all the things that I felt were missing is where the buzz is now. It's quite a journey and great fun. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about Domino. Hopefully that helps position a little bit. I'd just like to think about, I'm going to reflect on Domino and our sales org in many ways to start with. And, it was normal. All was normal. Fairly standard business to business function. We're very much face to face and relationship key, really important. A lot of the sales guys say it's really hard to prospect without visiting. Need to go and meet these people to work out how we're going to help them. It's tough getting appointments and meetings, customers and clients, prospects. They're busy. Production, when I was visiting production floors as a sales guy 20-something years ago, there were people all over the production floor. You go now, and there's 2 or 3. The whole industry around packaging has got so much leaner. So people are busy. It becomes tough. Teams and Zoom, well, they were really internal meetings and used occasionally, and where we just couldn't get together face to face with the team, you'd pull something in. We're a Teams house. We use Teams a lot. LinkedIn profiles, all about my next career move, not really about generating business or pulling customers, clients in to look at our expertise, and very much if we always do what we've always done, then everything will kind of work out fine. So the piece on the right of the slide sort of targets, plans, face-to-face visits, activities, admin systems, all the usual stuff that goes with sales. Wins and losses, we like to think we're going to win a bit more than we lose. Generally we do. A good look at results, then we kind of go back and repeat the process. So pretty standard business to business, face-to-face sales function. So I guess that's a picture that a lot of you will probably resonate with. And then something happened, and then 2020 happened, and it was really strange year. We all know what happened and how it worked, but 2020 dawned with this new strain of SARS coming out of Wuhan, or appearing to come out of Wuhan in China, and it was clearly going to spread, and it started spreading very, very rapidly. And by March, parts of Europe were really badly affected, and the UK as well. Okay, I'm based in the UK, and it was quite a difficult situation, as we all know. Lockdown became a reality. Lockdown before that was something that you saw in a Hollywood film, and all of a sudden it's starting to become reality. Well, another part of reality, certainly in my world, was FY20 was set. The plans and the budgets were done. And so they remained, and that was it. That was the track. That was the plan. Whole organisation shift to remote working, and it was just for a while, wasn't it? I remember sitting with my team. I'd just come back from a couple of weeks in India at the beginning of March. Probably just got out in time, in terms of getting home from anywhere with lockdown going on. And if you think back, probably the previous week, if you'd spoken to a lot of people around your businesses, and certainly people in our business, it would have been impossible to shift a whole organization to working from home, because a lot of managers just weren't comfortable with people working from home even for 1 or 2 days a week. So, the whole thing shifted. And I guess that's probably sounding familiar to you guys as well. Wherever you were, wherever you are, we've been on the same trajectory, I think. And it's a lot of it's not been in our control or our business's control. So we just got to choose how we react to it. So I guess that kind of sets the scene as to where we're going. And I thought, actually, I'm going to dig into a few questions, and I'm going to give myself a bit of an interview in a moment. But actually, we've all seen personal change here. What's changed in your personal world in the last 15 months? Probably the way you work, probably the way you buy things. Your buying process has changed. Never mind your customers. The way you consume media, the amount you're online. How do you socialize and interact? I bet you're all, looking forward as much as I am to seeing family, seeing friends in an open scenario where we're not all wearing masks, and spending time with people that we enjoy spending time with in places that we want to go to. The way we spend our downtime, perhaps the appreciation of local environment. I live out in the countryside, sort of in the Essex-Suffolk border, and I've lived here all my life, and I love it very much. But I've suddenly found a new love for my garden, and a new love for all the things around me. And I see so many people out walking dogs on footpaths, and I've been walking my dog on footpaths here for 25 years, and I'm seeing all sorts of new people. I think people are really opening up to what's on their doorstep. I think also people are really aware of mindfulness. Keeping sane is becoming really important. So, if you're like me, the answer is all of these things have changed. And I'm sure some are going to go back to how they were, but is this just normal now? How much of this is going to shift back? And I think actually, if we reflect these kind of questions and change into our business life, actually, we're already a way to working out what new normal looks like, or perhaps what's normal now. Hopefully I'm making sense. I'm going to be rolling through with a bit of talk and some slides, very conventionally, if you like, but I'm really hoping that I'm going to fire up some questions in you guys that are watching and listening, because I'd really like to wrap this up with a few questions. So, business as normal in 2020. Well, projects didn't stop. All the stuff we had planned went ahead. Implementing Lightning across the business with 10 years experience of Salesforce Classic. We updated and implemented Salesforce CPQ, brought in new competitor tool, launched sales management analytics and dashboards. Training didn't stop. We probably trained more people than we ever have done in terms of commercial training, but also technical training. It went bite-sized, it went blended. We've been running boot camps for a number of years. Boot camp went online. Pretty brutal, I think, actually, because a face-to-face boot camp was pretty tough. Self-directed e-learning, coaching didn't stop. It all carried on. It just went online. Global sales leadership meetings didn't stop. We just didn't meet in all those wonderful places I've listed up. We never got to Cancun, although our Mexican sales manager was busy planning that one for 2020. But Porto, Mallorca, etc. We just did it all from home, and I'm sure you're exactly the same. And you're probably saying, so when are you going to get to something that's different? Well, I think the reality is we're all in this, and this is normal now. So I heard some wake-up calls. There were a few things that a few people around the industry said, and I'm not going to read them all out, but one of the ones that really resonated was at the top. I guess all of your content production has now switched for digital consumption. I'm not sure it has yet. And that probably was said to me in March or April last year. I guess that your media consumption or your content consumption is going to shift, and you're already starting to address that. If you don't have a digital business, you don't have a business. I think that's really clear. Some of the things that have been pushed back, that's just not the way we work. I bet you've heard things like that as well. It's difficult. We'll all be back to normal in a few months, and it will go on. There's been some new reading, and actually some very new reading that came to me just in the last few days. I've been suspecting, it's simply more efficient for me to meet salespeople online. I've heard that now for months, coming out of our sales managers network, coming out of customer feedback. But some new reading: 70 to 80% of B2B buyers are not comfortable with returning face-to-face yet. When they will, who knows? 90% believe that virtual interactions will continue. I believe they will too, because there's an efficiency there all round. 50% of buyers are okay with making purchases without meeting their salesperson. Yeah, shouldn't be a surprise. I think we've seen that all this year. So I kind of thought, let's ask a few questions of myself. Let's do an interview. So what's been my biggest surprise? So I think biggest surprise has probably been rate of change, acceleration, how fast things have moved. I mean, how many years have we shifted in technology and in mindset and mentality in the last 12 months? So the rate of change to me has been the biggest surprise. It's just moved so quickly, and I think you've just got to be agile and get on with it. And work out that there's a few things that we've done in the past which are still valid, but you've really got to start thinking about how do you accelerate and keep up with the pace of change that's going on. Often that's directed around from our customers as well. So acceleration and pace of change. I think probably the biggest change has been around the buying and selling process and the shifts there. I think if you think about how the buying process has changed, if you subscribe to any of the research houses, I like to keep an eye on CSO Insights, but there are other research establishments out there. They've been telling us for a number of years that the number of people involved in a business to business sale is increasing. You know, it was 3 point something, it's 4 point something, it's 6 point this now. I've seen that shift and change. You know, talk to sales guys in the team. You know, how many people on the project you're dealing with a big multinational? Well, I need 13 signatures. How many of those are at the plant? 3. How many of those are in your state or in your region? Well, 3 of them are, another 3. But what about, you know, across the country? Well, that's where the rest of them are, apart from the guy in South America. So I think this has been driven by risk. It's been driven by decision by consensus. People are getting risk averse. We're a little bit jittery. We're a little bit nervous. So let's get more people involved in the buying process. And that's been probably one of those biggest changes, how that's affecting how we need to address the selling process. Hardest change. This is going to be no surprise, I'm sure, to anybody. Mindset and inertia. Getting people to shift from an entrenched position, getting people to do things differently. It's worked for the last 10 years. It's worked for the last 5 years. Yeah, but things have moved so rapidly that our usual slow iteration of change, it's a real challenge. So to me, the biggest change has been in that getting people out of comfort zones and people working the way they have always worked. Change management is a real thing that we talk about now on a daily basis for probably all projects that are going on. So mindset and inertia, major grapple, huge thing to think about. Probably bigger. What's the main lesson learned? Well, I can't say there's one. There was probably a number. Agility of mindset, being able to keep up, being ready to perhaps take risks, to make decisions quickly. Agility is massive in that, in terms of lessons learned. The police lights going on there. Well, this is about mistakes. I think it's okay to make mistakes. If you make a mistake, then acknowledge it, but learn from it. But if you're going to make a mistake, find out about it fast. So that goes with the agility of mindset. Put the process in place where regularly you're challenging and questioning what you're doing and testing and asking, does this work? Is it right? And keep that sort of that flow and repeat going on. Didn't want to jump into agile speak, but, you know, retrospectives, coming back, let's revisit these things fast, let's do this thing quickly. So making mistakes is okay, but let's learn from them fast. And client in the center, they have to be in the center. And this isn't new, but I think it's probably one of the lessons learned. If you haven't got the customer in the center of your thinking, then you've got a real challenge. And in sales enablement, I think that doesn't always mean the buying customer. It can often mean your salespeople and your sales managers, the people that you're trying to enable, your customers. And if you haven't got their needs in the center, and if you can't be a step ahead, then I think there's a major challenge. So I would say that's some of the biggest lessons learned for me. Unanswered questions. Well, I've been having these questions backwards and forwards with the business and the exec, gains and modus operandi. How do we operate now when we come out of this? What do we want to take forwards, and what do we want to drop? What do we want to stop doing? But there's been some significant gains in terms of, in the business that I'm in, OPEX to sales ratio is shifting in the right direction, significantly. I don't believe I'm going to be able to give that back. So what do we need to change to keep that going when we all start opening up and spending OPEX again? So I think there's a piece there in terms of the unanswered questions are still around perhaps what new normal is going to look like. But I think they're beginning to coalesce a little bit. But it's around the gains that we've made this year and how I don't give them back when, salespeople in a sales function desperately want to go out and do all the things we've always done. So last couple of little slides, something that's really helped me, and I've mentioned Agile a couple of times. Something that's helped me with this is a bit around mindset, but perhaps taking an Agile view on sales enablement. We're an engineering company, and we've got software development, R&D, and so on goes on, and they're really strong with the use of Agile in software development. Well, we've been looking with some pilot programs, Agile in sales. Well, I think there's a place. It's not about a process, it's about a mindset when we start looking at it in this way. And one of the first things that struck me when we started putting Agile into a selling context was dealing with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I think there's a market and a sales position where everything becomes really difficult and ambiguous and volatile. Well, what does sales enablement need to take as a position? On the other side of that, we need to think about what's our vision. We need to think about how we can bring understanding to uncertainty with some perspective. Perhaps, where things get complex, it's our job to simplify that and bring some simple clarity, chunk it down, make it small, make it actionable. Keep the initiative. Where things become ambiguous, we need an agility to try things out. And this is where perhaps, if you're not sure there's a right answer, well, let's try some what look like the best answers, but keep the initiative and keep this stuff moving. So thinking from going from, VUCA on one side to VUCA on the other, and just shining different lenses has really helped me and my thinking, and probably the team's thinking as well. So there's a bit of a journey and a bit of thinking, and I'm not quite sure how much new thinking I've given you, but hopefully I've provoked some questions. And I would say, what's that new normal position look like now? So just new normal. Well, we used to talk about blended learning and so on. And in an early interaction with the APS, the Association of Professional Sales that I'm a member of, I started talking fairly early last year about blended selling. And I think that's real, multi-channel contact, online and face-to-face, getting the blend right. Customers don't want us to go back completely to face-to-face. There's an efficiency and effectiveness for them. But are we geared up to continue to do this effectively using online technology, using video, using text, using phone, delivering content effectively? So I think there's some blended selling is real, it's here. I think we're still all defining it at the moment. But I don't think it's going to go back to single channel face to face. That's the way we work, kind of selling in the past, as it was in the past. Blended learning has become more and more increased in my world, and as I say, I've got a responsibility for training. Self-directed learning, bite-sized learning, regular and routine. It's not just an event; it now becomes something that drops in every week. There's some self-directed learning. It's multi-platform. It's it's e-learning. It's instructor-led training. It's online. It's face-to-face. It's a whole experience. People and organizations want to buy differently. I'm sure, just like I do, you buy things differently, and I think our customers want to stick with some of that. Our sales processes need to match and pace that. We need to catch up in some places, but we need to stay ahead of it and be ready. Digital imperative, enablement technology, crucial stuff. I've been laying foundations still with Lightning and CPQ. There's a ton of stuff I want to move, but it has to be digital first. It's normal now. It's much more normal now. All of our customers and clients go digital before they go anywhere else. The efficiency gains, they're going to need to stay. The CFO isn't going to want to lose grip on profitability OPEX to sales ratios that we've seen this year, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. Sales enablement is the glue that holds the functional sales all together. I said that in the blog when some questions were asked. I think we need to apply our glue differently in different places, in different ways, and probably with more people than we ever have. So there's some of my thinking on what's new normal and what's normal now. Really interested in any questions. I can see that I've got one coming straight in. So if it's okay with you guys, I've got no more slides. Hopefully that's giving you some thinking. So how have you been able to keep your team's motivation up that you can't meet them in person and check in? That's a great question. Thanks, Sarah. I think actually we all went home probably 2 weeks before Boris sent us home, certainly from a UK standpoint. And I've probably had more interaction with my team routinely and regularly because we've put, as I'm sure a lot of you have, we've put, weekly catch-up meetings, weekly, probably more monthly one-to-ones. They've been far more rigid in terms of I'm not going to move them out the diary because we need to keep people motivated. I think it's been a bigger struggle perhaps for sales managers keeping salespeople motivated because that's much more of a tough ask. So within my enablement sphere, I think we've probably acted more cohesively as a team. Within the sales world, I think that's been more of a challenge, but I think regular contact, regular teams meetings, regular interaction with multiple points in the business. Me and my team have been out, delivering more training online than we probably ever would have got to. We've touched more salespeople than we ever would have got to in a normal year where we'd have been out traveling and doing this stuff face to face. So I think it's about effort and keeping that initiative. Please come back if I haven't answered that well enough. What do you recommend to avoid Zoom fatigue? Another great question. Thank you, Krista. Zoom fatigue, Teams fatigue. It becomes tough. Shorten the meetings. Don't make them an hour long. Make them 25 minutes long. Keep it punchy. Keep it fast paced. Expect people to have done their research and work before they get into the meeting, so the Zoom meeting becomes a confirmation. Hopefully that helps. But I think it's about making it as interactive as possible. Apologies, I've just given you 15 slides of PowerPoint this morning, haven't made it particularly interactive. I hold my hand up, guilty as charged. Ruth, have you decided how your team is going back? Well, actually, yeah, we have. We're all going to work from home. We're going to work from home and go to the office where we need to. I expect I'll probably be back in the Cambridge office once a week at some point in the not too distant future. I've been back in the office 3 times in the last year, but we're going to do that in a staggered way. The whole of our business at Domino is going back in a blended approach, and I think we're not alone in that. We're restructuring our office space. We're bringing in, people's desks disappear, hot desks come in, and we're going back in that way. We will be very much a blended approach. Yeah, it will, as you've just described. So that's how we're going back. There are a couple of members of my team that need to be in the office, and they will work from home where needed, but most of them will work from home and go to the office where needed. I'm expecting that most of my team will spend between 10 and 20%. So maybe half a day to 1 day a week in the office. Other than that, I think we've conclusively proved that we don't need to be in the office. We can do this effectively from home. And there are, again, quite a lot of gains. If you're training in person with people joining and vice versa, let me just get the sense of the last piece. Well, I don't know, Ruth, did I answer your question in my first stab there? Any advice regarding books, podcasts, experts, etc.? I'm not particularly good at reading textbooks. I like to listen to them. The ones that I've looked at, I'm looking across at my bookshelf. The ones that I've looked at or listened to, I've re-immersed myself in Challenger thinking over the last year or so. I read a great book which is called If You're Not First, You're Last. That was great fun. And my Bible and true north in all of this remains the Tamara Schenk's Sales Enablement which I just call my Sales Enablement Bible. And I'm really sorry, I kind of like to drop in. I'm a member of the Association of Professional Sales, and I kind of drop into a lot of their stuff around selling and working with sales directors at that level. Hopefully that kind of helps. I don't know, am I out of time? I don't know, Jack, if you're still there. It's 12 o'clock at my end. That kind of romped along.
I am still here, James. Yeah, we are out of time. So thank you so much for that presentation. And yeah, really insightful Q&A as well. Hopefully you answered everyone's questions. If anyone would like to ask any more questions to James, please do connect with him over on LinkedIn. And I'm sure he'll be happy to keep the conversation going and yeah, answer any more questions that you may have. So with that said, James, thank you so much for taking the time. And everyone, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all very soon.
Thanks a lot. Everybody stay well, stay safe.
Thanks, James.
Cheers.